Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us.
Well, welcome back to Focus Today. We have a guest in studio who is also going to be at the Smullen Center this week that we want to tell you about. And we're talking about hospice and hospice care. And our guest with us is Mary Landberg. She's with the Asante Hospice, and she's an RN and also a photographer, right?
Yes, I am.
That's quite a unique combination right there. Let me just mention that you're going to be at the Smullen Center this Thursday, and the topic is Conversations with the Dying for the Living. I want to hear more about what it is that you're going to be talking about there. Just wanted to mention that this weekend, I just happened to bump into a person who was saying that their brother was now in a hospice and was expected to die soon. And, you know, the life not only of the hospice person, but the people surrounding that particular individual during that period very quickly can really turn upside down, can it?
It certainly can. And I've participated in the care of hundreds of dying people here in the Rogue Valley. I see death a lot. I know what happens. And I know what to expect when people are going to die from Alzheimer's, heart disease, lung disease, cancer, stroke, and old age. And
are those the main ones that you see in hospice?
Actually, yes.
And this is an area where there are more retired people. It's an aging population, so we could be seeing more of this. Not just that it's older people, but I suppose it ends up being the majority, isn't it?
Yes, and I have created this presentation to answer the question, what is it like to die?
Wow.
And in my presentation, I'm very frank, and I give honest information about what to expect, head to toe, emotionally and physically, in the last months, weeks, hours, days, and moments before death.
And is this from the perspective of the person in hospice or the people surrounding that person?
Both. From my perspective, my insights, also, the dying's perspective and their caregivers, family, and friends.
Well, okay, since this has to be something that you've had to think how you're going to process all of this too, because you've been doing this how long now?
I've been with Asante for 7 or 8 years.
In the hospice area? Wow. So you have seen a lot of this. It took you a while, did it, to kind of adapt to all of this, from being a registered nurse to actually being a registered nurse dealing with those people? Was that a difficult transition?
Well, it wasn't actually. I was pretty surprised how comfortable I was with end-of-life care. I'm a better person for spending time with the dying. I have grown immensely from having deep conversations with the dying and their families.
Well, tell me what you've learned.
Well, I learned about
think about yourself, 7 years ago when you first started working in hospice to now. What has taken place? Because you're seeing a lot of commonalities. What actually has been the outcome of all of this for you?
Like I said, I'm a better person.
Meaning what? Like what?
Well, my faith in human connection is restored on a constant basis. I see people sharing their unconditional love. It just moves me to do the same. Is to be more of a giving person and be present.
And that's a key thing for family members who may be wondering, how do I even approach this? If I stay away, maybe that's one way of doing it. But you're saying, no, immerse yourself in it?
Well, one of the most gratifying parts of my job as a hospice nurse is when, for instance, when I walk into the door for the first time, it becomes real, and I'm often met with people who are emotionally distraught, spinning around and bumping into each other with a deer in the headlights looks on their faces. Their shoulders are hiked up to here. They're not even exhaling. Wow. They're worried and afraid and in fear. And so I have the families gather, usually around the bed where the dying person is living, and I tell them everything. I tell them what's happening in that moment and what to expect in the next months, weeks, hours, days, or moments of life. And when this process of death and dying is no longer a scary mystery, people can get to what matters most, and I think that's love and connection.
I would imagine that that's got to be a huge shock to hear somebody like yourself talking about the person who they've loved in that way. I mean, they've got how they process that information is something they probably have never done before, I would assume, right?
For a lot of people, believe it or not, the hospice referral is the first introduction to end of life.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you can imagine, people are scared to death of the process.
Well, we are a society that doesn't really acknowledge death, right? I mean, everyone acts as if it's never going to happen to them. We'll be the ones who are the exception. Right, so this is kind of staring the inevitability in the face, isn't it?
Right, and I do touch on that in my presentation on Thursday at the Coho, is why are people reluctant to talk about death? Why is it so fearful? Why are people afraid? And basically, it's the fear of the unknown. We're afraid of what we don't know.
Wow. Okay, you know what you have, and we have limited time here, but you've got a book that's coming out in May. Is that right? Okay, it's called Enduring Love. And it's kind of a photography book, right? I mean, kind of, but there's also, you have some real scenarios in there playing out, is that right?
Yeah. Over the last 3 or 4 years, 300 families have allowed me to bring my camera into a most sacred and vulnerable time in their lives.
Yeah.
And I strive to photograph that unwavering expression that endures between people who are living with terminal illness. And I've recently written a book. And it has 126 portraits of hospice patients and families embracing love and life. And most of the portraits are of hands and the way people lovingly touch each other. I like to freeze time and to preserve those moments of love and connection that happen between people. And I gift hospice families these portraits. I don't charge for this service.
Now, you have an excerpt, do you, from the upcoming book? Is that right?
Yeah, I have it. Well, there's 126 stories, so I could share a couple with you.
Yeah, why don't you kind of give us an idea of what it is that they might find in the book, that you're actually dealing with this every day.
Every day,
right?
yeah. Well, let me just tell you, the book itself offers glimpses into hospice care, the truth about what death and dying looks like, thought-provoking stories about how people live and love with dementia. There are grand love stories in this book, and also conversations with the dying, their advice for living, and the wisdom their illnesses have gifted them. How about that?
Well, that's something that only a family member or somebody like you would actually see as a result. So you've been able to compile this together.
Yes, and the book will be, and my presentation on Thursday will be mostly from this book, stories from the book, and also photographs. I'll be sharing about 40 photographs. All
right, let me just mention again that Mary Landberg, hospice RN and photographer, it's an unusual combination, but it works. She will be at the Smullen Center on February 27th, Conversations with the Dying for the Living. And the book is called Enduring Love, subtitled Inspiring Stories of Love and Wisdom at the End of Life.
Right.
And that'll be in May, right?
May 14th is the big release.
So the big thing is to let you know about this Thursday's event on the 27th. You're going to be talking about a whole lot of things, of course, Thursday. What are the questions that family members might have that you find being repeated when they discover that somebody has to be in hospice and probably won't return home?
The biggest question I hear, the most frequent question I hear is, when is my mother going to die? And my answer can trigger a phone tree that can put people on airplanes all over the country.
Oh, I'll bet, yeah.
My answer can shift priorities dramatically. People give notice to their employers and they just drop everything and they get in their cars and they come.
Yeah.
So I better be right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, not everybody follows the textbook. So if I'm wrong, it's never a bad idea to come visit your loved ones.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a window that's available, and you're the one to let them know about that.
Yeah, and I will talk about the predictable decline that happens.
Yeah. I'm curious, when you said that you have the family members around the bed, perhaps, of the person who is dying, and you've had a relationship with that patient already, and now the family members are there, and you're being very candid about this. You probably already talked to the patient about it, but there's got to be some sense for that patient laying there to hear all of this with their family that has to be unusual as well. I mean, because normally people don't talk like that. We think of doctors as not really telling everything that they know, and yet you're laying it all out there, aren't you? How is that for the patient? Have they talked to you after that meeting and said what that meant to them?
Yeah, they certainly appreciate it. But here's a problem, is that we're getting hospice admission referrals in the last 3 to 7 days of people's lives.
Oh,
where
really?
the patient is unconscious.
Oh,
And
okay.
what's happening is hospice is more of a crisis management and urgent advocacy for patients. We can't just establish relationships with them. We can't offer our
I see.
amazing resources with them or help prepare them on their journey. So part of my presentation is we need to get people informed about hospice sooner. And
Right,
we
yeah.
also need to help inform people on advanced care planning so that their families aren't having to make these critical decisions in these very stressful environments.
Oh, you can imagine, yeah, 3 to 7 days. I mean, hospice wasn't designed to be that last moment, was it? Wasn't it supposed to be some period of time
Yeah.
that I would say, I don't know, months, weeks?
Well, to qualify for hospice, a physician must determine that a patient has a terminal illness and that they'll probably die within 6 months if their illness progresses on its normal course.
Oh, but so many factors come into play.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to mention this. We've just hit on the surface of this, but Mary will be talking a lot more about the whole aspect of hospice. It'll be Thursday, February 27th at the Smullen Center, Conversations with the Dying for the Living, and her book is coming out. Will you also have some pictures you'll be bringing with you at the Smullen Center?
That'll be my slide presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, about 40 of them.
Book is called Enduring Love, and look forward to seeing that. When you get that published, I want to see what that looks like.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. Again, that's Thursday, February 27th at the Smullen Center. If you need any more information, just call us here at the Dove. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. It
Appreciate
was great to be here.
Thanks for joining us for Focus today.